Jovan Buha! Buha!
Last player I want to touch on here before we hit on some of the Lakers' younger players is Zach Edey. And he's someone who seems to also have a wide range, though it feels like he's probably going to go within the top 20 for now, but could be anywhere from like late lottery to around the 20th pick. But he's someone that has been attached to the Lakers in terms of mock drafts. How do you feel about Zach Edey, and what do you see as like? I mean, Boban has been an easy comparison for people, and that I mean the size is there obviously, right? And you could see him maybe like coming in as like a backup center who you can run some post ups for and some deep seals, and he can be like the center of the offense for spurts, I guess. But in terms of how his size will translate, in terms of how his defense will translate, the rebounding, the soft touch, like how do you see all of that translating at the NBA level? And is he maybe a underrated prospect kind of hiding in plain sight?
I definitely think he's an underrated prospect. It's very rare to see a 7'3" or 7'4" player with 7'10" wingspan, run the floor as well as he did. He's averaged around 30 minutes a game for the past 2 years, and there's no questions about his motor. He's a willing runner. He runs end to end. When I think of a player comparison in terms of that particular size, it's really difficult. The only player that comes to mind, and I'm going to date myself a little bit, is someone like Rick Smits. This is dating back to the 2000 Lakers,
Okay.
where
Yeah.
where Rick Smits had soft touch, but he was more of a mid-range jump shooter. He had a little bit of a post game as well, but there weren't really concerns about Rick Smits' motor. He ran the floor surprisingly well, especially at his size. There may have been some athletic concerns with his mobility back then, but Edey disproved that a little bit with his combine testing. Um, I wouldn't exactly want him to, chase wings on defensive switches or anything like that. And I definitely think a team has to scheme their perimeter defense differently, rotate in different ways, especially for the wings. But the rebounding is going to translate. The height and wingspan, as long as he keeps his arms up in the paint, it's going to be distracting. And he definitely has soft touch. He's only really shown it to about 10 to 12 feet, but it's also rare to see a guy that gets that much defensive attention, and he works uh, both sides of the paint equally well, whether it's left hand or right hand hook shots. It's easy for him. And I don't imagine him being the number one option that he was for his team last year. What I imagine early on is more like a Zubats type of role where just rebound, run the floor. If you're in the paint, take a good shot, and then maybe down the line he could be more of a high post dribble handoff type. Maybe make some plays off a few passes down the line. But it would not surprise me if he didn't last to number 17.
Actually, I really like that Zubats comparison. I could see like a bigger Zubats, which is Zubats has become I know it's still a sensitive subject for a lot of Laker fans, but Zubats has become a pretty solid starting center. So if Zach Edey could be a taller Zubats like that, that's a pretty effective player. How would you see him fitting with Anthony Davis in two big looks?
So Anthony Davis would likely have to go to more of that off ball role. It's really difficult to get the spacing on the floor with Edey and Davis at the same time. Usually, the way teams compensate for spacing issues is opting for more dribble handoff opportunities, or the way Golden State runs their offense, they use more split cut actions with their shooters and their bigs as more of the playmakers. It's just more of a challenge when you're optimizing Anthony Davis in an off-ball role when typically the Lakers would use, say, Jared Vanderbilt in that role. And there's a little bit less of a spacing issue when it's Anthony Davis as opposed to Zach Edey, who basically operates within 10 feet of the basket. So I can see that challenge for sure. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be both of them on the floor at the same time. If you put LeBron at 4 and then Edey's at 5, well, now there's just a lot of length in the paint, and now you're one of your best playmakers, well, the best playmaker on the team is at 4, well, he can set up Zach Edey for pick and roll all day, just like he can with Anthony Davis as well.